All right, so the next contract we're going to talk about is professional services type contracts, also known as consultant contracts. These contracts are typically competitively procured through a professional services type process, which is you've got where prospective consultant firms will submit a technical proposal, which is typically, on our end at least, it's reviewed by a technical review committee that provides grades. They score those proposals. And sometimes there's oral presentations involved, and selection is made based on technical qualifications and their approach to the project. And then following that, we'll move to negotiations for man hours, basically on a man-hour basis for the various tasks that are involved in those projects. That's typically how they're procured. So you can have consultant contracts that are involved that are more project specific, where the consultant is brought on board for the design phase to develop those plans, details, and technical specifications. You can also have project consultants that are involved in the construction phase of the project, in doing the inspections on site, maybe there's shop inspections or material testing, things of that nature. You can also have consultants involved with continuing service type projects. Give you an example, a big one for us on the Turnpike system is all of our inspection activity. We have two very large consultant inspection contracts, one for the northern portion of our system and one for the southern portion. So we do, I mentioned we had about 2,400 structures out there that all require continual inspection over time. In any given 2-year inspection cycle, we're probably doing about 2,600 inspections, whether it's routine, emergency, project related, interim inspection, you name it, always doing inspections. So that's a good example on a continuing services type contract. Often, sometimes you can have training and certification needs. If you've got in-house staff resources, that you got consultants involved with those programs for making sure that your staff maintains their certifications. Often on this end, we kind of, I guess I would say on Florida, I think we handle this more so from a statewide perspective. Central office does a lot of the organizing for statewide trainings, and we certainly take advantage of that whenever that's available. I guess the only other item that I'd mention is that we have general program type consultants as well. That may be a little bit of a variation from some of the other states. We, just speaking from the Turnpike's experience, being a large agency with large programs, we've got various general program consultants that are involved with running large programs. On the Transportation Development Office, we've got our general consultants involved with all the work program and those large development projects, whether it's widening or constructing new interchanges. So those projects require a lot of technical resources to develop those projects and get them ready for construction. On the operations side of the house, we've got general consultants involved with running the construction program, which is always a lot of work that's occurring on our system all the time. Overseeing that, make sure we deliver our projects on time and on budget. And also on the operations side, we've got general consultant programs involved with traffic engineering and maintenance operations for all the various roadway facilities out there that are in service. So I think one aspect of the general program consultants is that we've used them where they're typically co-located with agency staff resources on site and integrated. So there's a lot of times it's seamless on a day-to-day basis. So as far as advantages to consultant contracts in general, I guess I would say that you have access to professional knowledge base and a labor source as you need it. I think sometimes if you try to maintain a core of technical or professional service resources in-house, it can get expensive. Whereas certainly if you have projects that come and go over time, it allows you to engage these resources on an as-needed basis. As far as disadvantages, really the only one I can think of is if you've got that knowledge base, it can be external sometimes. So if you don't have good processes to capture that knowledge and retain that knowledge from all that project work, or if you have to go through a significant procurement process to access that knowledge base when you need it, it's not necessarily on demand. So I guess that's all I was going to touch upon with consultant contracts. And
thank you, Aaron. Becky, can you address this type of contract and what your thoughts are on this?
Yep, we do it fairly similar to Florida. We do quite a bit of our professional engineering services are consultant based. One of the pieces that we've developed is we have a pre-qualified pool of consultants for the smaller dollar contracts. So depending on what the cost of the contract is, it makes it a little easier to go through the procurement process. So we have a 3 to 4 year time frame for these pools, where either individual engineers or engineering firms, depending on which pool it is, are pre-qualified and based on their qualifications. And then if the contract is anticipated, or if the contract will be 250,000 or less, then anytime through that pool period, we can review the original proposals and direct select one consultant without having to send it out for multiple bids. If it's between, they typically say between 200 to 750,000, then we'll request pool letters of qualifications, and that goes out to that same pool of pre-qualified engineering firms or engineers, and it's a shorter submittal, usually 3 to 5 pages that they submit, and that goes out to 3 to 5 consultants, and then it's qualifications based at that point, but it's not going out as a general advertisement or an RFP. It's just going to those 3 to 5 consultants. So it reduces the number of proposals that are coming in. We also do on-call contracts. So there's an overarching on-call contract that we can write work task orders against that are limited to 70,000 per project. And that makes it so we can get those contracts in place really quickly when we already have the overarching on-call contract. And then we can have project-specific work task orders. So that's kind of from the procurement standpoint, how we do it a little bit differently to kind of speed up that process and not go out with full RFPs or RFQs every time we need professional engineering services. We also do continuing service consultants for our inspection program. We also have one that we do for our bridge load rating program. That's an ongoing contract, just kind of for on call as bridge conditions change or wearing surfaces get increased or anything else, if we need to update load ratings or updating for new vehicles, helping with permitting, that type of thing. I definitely agree that you can reach out to a broader knowledge base, and that's a big of these. One thing that we've done to kind of try to have that continuity of information with our internal staff and our consultants is we have picked some of our bridge projects where our in-house UDOT staff is actually working with the consultant team. So the in-house staff is doing the design and the consultant is doing the QC, or the in-house staff is doing the design of one bridge within the same project, and the consultant is doing another bridge to kind of get that in-house training from the consulting staff. And so that's kind of helped us with our just core knowledge base of internal staff as well. Kind of gone over the questions we had on that one.
Thank you, Becky. And what's your thoughts?
That was me. Yeah, so there's a lot of similarities to how I guess you folks do it to how New Jersey does. We do quality rate our consultants that we essentially ask for working on our various projects. And designers are hired for, like professional service designers are hired for designing rehabilitations. Like one that I've been on is the fender replacement contract. We're replacing a timber fender with a polymer one. And we had a professional design services create that for us, which is done through like a quality review of their proposals and all that stuff. We also extensively hire inspectors for the inspection of maintenance contracts, and they're usually tied to specific contracts, so they're not free agents to kind of go from one to the other as needed, which is a little bit of a drawback, but that's currently how we're handling this one right now. We don't really use it for training or certification because we already have a robust training division, and they have a center down in Trenton that kind of takes care of that for us. We also, similarly, I think to Florida, is we hired the consultant services for the inspection for our structural evaluation inspections. And again, this is all done in concert with other contracts or inspectors and design needs. And another aspect of this that we haven't touched on, I don't know if this is different from state to state, because I think it might just be a federal requirement, but it's the use of DBEs, disadvantaged businesses, to, I guess, and we have them as requirements for whenever we put these out. Same as with other contracts, either as subcontractors, but it's the same for our professional services as well.
Bill, you have any thoughts on this?
No, pretty much the same thing. We solicit regularly for engineering two-party contracts. It's quality-based selection, similar to what the other states are doing. It sounds like we have what we would call master contracts for either general design, general construction oversight, or real specialty stuff. And within those master contracts, they're typically 2-year duration with an upper dollar amount. We'll select for those and then write work orders against them, which, you don't know what that work order might be, but we've already gone through the process of selection. So turnaround time is almost instantly to execute a work order. Some of our specialty master contracts that we advertise and select on a 2-year cycle, and we'll have multiple firms for each of these, would be for complex structural analysis rating, shop inspection for steel, bridge deck survey, and structures inspection. Fairly similar to, I think, what you all are doing.
Okay, last but not least, Mr. Jeff Milton.
Okay, thank you. We use consulting contracts in a similar manner to the other states. We solicit contracts for design of facilities. It may be new bridges, it may be rehabilitation or heavy maintenance of an existing bridge. We also use those consulting contracts a fair amount for construction engineering, which would include providing construction inspection. We perform a fair amount of our bridge safety inspection using consultant contracts. Also, we perform a fair amount of our bridge load rating with consultant contracts. And in some cases, we'll have like a district or regional kind of on-call type of contract. For one example would be like bridge maintenance and repair type contracts, where the consultant is selected, and then when a district needs the use of that service, they'll already have that contract. What we do is similar to what the others experience. So, thank you.
Mr. Hooks, do you have any questions for us?
Sure do. A question about consultant contracts, particularly for Virginia, Florida, and Utah. Are the consultants selected at the central office or at the region district office level? Florida?
We have all of our professional services contracts are at the district level. So we have our own professional services office within the Turnpike, and each district within Florida has a similar office. And we advertise, we review, we handle the entire procurement process and the selection. Obviously, there is some concurrence from central office throughout the process, but we're mainly the ones who handle all that work.
Again, in Virginia, we have typically we'll have a panel to perform the consultant selection. And that panel of individuals will typically include someone from the central office, someone from the district that the work is going to be performed in. So if we're going to have a bridge safety inspection solicitation for professional services, and typically the bridge inspection manager from that district would be involved, and also somebody from the central office inspection program. So we have kind of a combination of central office and district folks involved in the consultant selection. We have an office in our central office that is overall and responsible for the consultant contracts.
Are these consultant contracts just for bridge work? Or does it include all aspects, such as guide rail, handicap ramps, other activities?
Oh, yeah, we can have contracts for any type of activity. And I'm speaking, primarily on bridge maintenance and inspection. But yeah, we can have consultant contracts for, road work, roadway design, and all that as well. Yes.
I'm going to reach back to push button contracts for a second. Do you distinguish project scopes with push button contracts? For example, is deck patching on a 4-lane urban interstate handled, classified, or bid differently from deck patching on a 2-lane rural road?
In Utah, we don't differentiate.
We don't.
We don't typically differentiate. I mean, we'll have contracts for the push button contracts. We'll have, again, like I said earlier, we'll have a contract to perform a specific kind of work. We don't necessarily differentiate it by functional class of roadway or anything like that.
Throw one more out. I'm going to ask, I think this was still back on push button contracts. Is there a maximum amount that's applied these types of projects? Can you go over, is there a limit you cannot go over, size-wise, money-wise?
Not necessarily. I mean, we will have, again, in Virginia, these contracts, we will have a list of quantities, and the contractor will bid, unit prices, and then that determines the contract value. As far as what are there limitations on what that maximum value can be? I don't know that we have an official maximum, but obviously, the larger the project gets, the more it may lend itself to site-specific type work.
Okay. Back over to you, Jeff.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.